I welcome everybody.
Yes.
So we're right on time. It's 10, and this is where we start the semi-final. All right. I'd like to call our judges, respected Dr. Shalini Mohan. We have Dr. Pradeep Pant
Yeah,
and
good
Dr.
morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
And Dr. Anita Panda.
Okay. Thank you.
So actually among
This
the
is the panel
judges,
of.
yeah,
Thank
we,
you.
among
Can
the
you,
judges,
can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so this is our terrific panel of judges. I'd like to call our first presenter. We have Dr. Alok Sati. Dr. Alok, I can see that you're here. I request you to please unmute yourself, switch
Yeah,
your camera on, and start sharing your screen.
yeah. So, is it the full screen, madam?
Yes, it is, ma'am.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. A very warm greeting from our institute. The
Sorry,
topic
sir.
is femtosecond.
Sir, sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you, sir. Sir, I'm unable to see your screen, sir.
You are not able to see the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
can you
think
see?
it's visible.
It is visible. It is
Yeah,
visible, I think.
it is visible.
Can you see now? Yeah, is it visible?
No, now I can't, but I could about a minute ago.
We can hear and we can
you to
see.
share the screens.
Is it now visible? Yeah, is it visible?
No, now it is not visible. In fact, when you started, then it was clearly visible.
Yeah, it was. At this point, it's not.
It is visible to us.
It
We
is
can see him. Yes.
not him,
I can
ma'am.
see him.
Not him. He's trying to share a PDF
Yes.
file
Yes.
for his presentation. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, is it visible now?
No, it's not.
Not.
He's visible. We can see him, ma'am. We can't see his presentation, his file. Arya, could you please come in and help Dr. Alok?
Yes, sir. So you have to open your PDF first or PowerPoint.
Yeah, I have already opened it up.
Then just click on share screen.
Just click on the screen. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I have clicked.
So, not a screen, sir. You have to click on share screen button.
Yeah, is it visible now?
No, sir.
Just hold on, just hold on.
Maybe call the second presenter and give some more time to Dr. Alexa please, so that we can settle down and come back to maybe some time later. Judges?
Yeah, is it visible?
So start sharing the screen first. Are you sharing?
Yeah, is it visible now?
No, it's not.
It's not. Can I redo it, madam? If you can give me the time.
Yeah. Please redo it.
Okay.
How long will that take, sir?
It will take. You can ask the other speaker to present first.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We would like to go ahead with our next presenter. We have Dr. Ritika Malik.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Good morning.
You can start sharing your screen. Good morning.
Right.
You have 6 minutes.
Right.
I'm sure you know.
If you can see my screen?
I can see you. Have you already started sharing your presentation?
I have started sharing.
No, I can't see your presentation yet.
Just a minute. Can I see again? I'll stop share.
Stop it and probably try resharing
Try
it.
again. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Is it visible now?
Yes, it is. It is. It is
Okay.
visible.
Right. Can I start?
Yes, ma'am. Please start. All the best.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing well. And I'm here to present my paper on next generation cross-linking calculator for titration of energy in thin keratogenic corneas. I have no financial disclosures. So previously described by our published work, the management of keratoconus less than 450 microns, we can either do an epi-on cross-linking or an intracorneal ring segments. For adverse disease with scarring, keratoplasty is often required. So what about the diseases which have no scarring but are thin corneas coming into our OPDs? How do we proceed in that? So do we go ahead and do a standard cross-linking, or do we go ahead and do a keratoplasty? So studies have shown the cytotoxic effects of riboflavin plus a UVA treatment on the endothelial cells at a depth of 400 microns. And on the other hand, transplant, even in the hands of the best skilled surgeons, has the limitation of graft survivability. So what are the other options? Are hypoosmolar riboflavin transepithelial technique, contact lens assisted, lenticule assisted, customized pachymetry guided, and iontophoresis. But all these have their own limitations as unpredictable outcomes or difficult visual rehabilitation. So is there a better way to cross-link the thinner corneas without scarring? So that's when we stumbled upon a paper by Dr. Hafezi, who gave us the sub 400 protocol. So they described the principle of adapted fluence, wherein customized energy is delivered by altering the irradiation time. So a lower dose of UV dose can be administered from the beginning, that is shortening the irradiation time. So what this paper also gave us is they gave us the graphs, which is the stress relaxation curves for different conditions and mathematical formulations. So what we did was wanting to bring it to the clinics easily. So we made our own complex formula, which we fed into a software and developed our own NXT UVA calculator. But leading us to a research question, is there a simpler way to calculate energy titration and time in thin corneas? And the purpose of a study was to evaluate the safety and efficacy of our own calculator. So this is how we designed our own calculator using the same stress relaxation curves and the Lambert-Beer equation. So this process can be tailored based on the corneal thickness to deliver a cross-linking effect with an adequate safety zone. And we developed an experimentally validated numerical algorithm so that accounts for oxygen, riboflavin, UV availability in the stoma during the cross-linking treatment. So this allows us predicting the biomechanical stiffening also after cross-linking. So this is how our calculator looks. It looks like it's changing this thickness, changes the fluence time, and it gives for 0.1% and 0.2% riboflavin. This is what the chart looks like, what we've created with epithelium of thickness corresponding to the fluence time of 3 milliwatts and 9 milliwatts. So with this background, we decided to seek ethics committee approval and started our study on the NXT UVA calculator. So we included 70 eyes of 70 patients with advanced keratoconus, documented progression, corneal thickness less than 400 microns with no scarring. So what did we preoperatively evaluate was the corneal thickness and the documented progression of the patient. Then we did an epithelial mapping on the MS39. We did a specular microscopy to see the preoperative endothelial cell count. Then we put everything into our NXT UVA algorithm and we did the cross-linking of the patient. So for example, if we have a patient with advanced KC with a corneal thickness of 390 microns, we just remove the epithelium, we are left with 340 microns. Very easily, we put it into our smartphones, we're giving a URL code. It gives us 21.95 minutes at 3 milliwatts and 7.3 minutes at 9 milliwatt. You can choose either of them with a 0.1% riboflavin drops. So this is how we can go ahead and do our cross-linking. What we do on follow-up is that we assess the patient's refraction, the topography, the specular count, and the aesosity for the demarcation line. Let's see how our patients fared well. So on the safety profile, coming to the results, there was no significant haze noted either on the Pentacam, densitometry map, or clinically at the end of 6 months. Our patients had very good safety. 51% had no loss of lines, 24% gained 1 line, 14% gained 2 lines, and very minimal percentage had a loss of line. On specular counts, no statistical significant change in the specular cell count. So the endothelium was also remaining undamaged. Then we come to the efficacy, which was given by a stable keratometry of K1, K2, and Kmax at the end of 6 months. We had very good demarcation line, and 62% of our patients showed a good demarcation line. These are some of our post-operative outcomes at 6 months with a good flattening and a good refractive change. So we also saw that the post-op 65% had no biomechanical weakening. So the corpus for these patients had no change, while 35 of our patients did have a change for the better. So they were stiffening after the cross-linking. So we further on are in the process to combine two studies, polarization sensitive OCT, which gives us the patients. So what was known is that our calculator is simple and easy to use with good safety and efficacy. So we have generated a QR code for the ease of the clinician. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you.
Moving on, if there are any questions, we have about 2 minutes to take them.
Yeah, I just want to ask you, Rutika, how long your study is, duration of study?
Our study is the longest cohort of follow-up we have is of 2 years. So they are also faring very well with a good flattening, and none of our patients have needed any post-cross-linking transplantation.
Second is the most age groups affected, or you tried in the what age group?
So the younger age group, which was around 18 to 25, so that was our main age group, but we have done for a varied age group of more than 25 years old.
And
patients.
where you did not find any improvement according to the age and sex ratio?
So the sex ratio did not make any difference in our study, but age-wise also there was improvement all throughout all the age groups. It's just that the younger patients were flattening a little bit more aggressively, but everybody did fairly well.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Are there any more questions, judges?
No, thank you.
No. All right. Thank you, Dr. Ritika Malik. I'd like to go back to our first speaker, Dr. Shalini Mohan.
Yeah, we would invite Dr. Alok Sathi for the presentation.
Yeah.
Are you ready, Dr. Alok?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you see my slides now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
We can.
Yeah. Okay. A very warm greeting from our institute. The topic is femtosecond laser assisted sutureless deep anterior lamellar keratoplasty. Traditionally, we know that the DALK is being performed by manual method, by big bubble method, and of course, femtosecond lasers using sutures. But the issues with the traditional technique is the association with the suture related complications and of course the long operative time. So can we circumvent these issues? Yes, we can do it by sutureless femtosecond laser technique, because we expect a firm apposition between donor and host cornea in this technique. So this is how we innovated this newer technique. The purpose is to evaluate the outcome of this newer technique. It's a prospective non-randomized clinical trial. We did it in 10 patients with corneal scar. After comprehensive evaluation, we evaluated the depth of corneal opacity by anterior segment OCT. Then the femtosecond laser was used to cut the both donor and recipient cornea. We can appreciate here in this slide that the diameter what we took was 7.5 and the depth was 485 in donor cornea. Similarly, in the recipient, diameter we have to keep the same and the thickness was 465 micron. So this is the video of this technique. Yeah. So you can very well appreciate that not running. Yeah, this is what we are doing. We are first creating a lenticule in the donor cornea. You can very well appreciate this. And the diameter, what we have kept as 7.5 nanometer. Then we are dissecting the donor lenticule with the help of, this is what we call as a hook, which we use normally in SMILE procedure. And this is what we are removing the lenticule. Now, after removing this lenticule, we went on to the host treatment, which we have kept a diameter similar to that of donor lenticule. And of course, the depth is little less than that of donor lenticule. And this is what we are cutting now, the donor lenticule. After dissection of the donor lenticule, as you must be appreciating that we have little resistance at the site of the scar. And you can very well appreciate the depth. This depth is to the tune of 465 micron. So we have reached almost very closer to the Descemet membrane. And then we place it. We adhere it with the fibrin glue. Followed by BCL placement. So we followed the patients and we basically looked for BCVA, keratometry, and complications. This is the demographic profile of our patients. We took the mean corneal thickness and mean depth as shown here. Similarly for the recipient and the donor lenticule. Now, if you appreciate, we have got the mean BCVA as 0.47, which is to the tune of 6 by 18. So the vision improved from say around 3 by 60 to 6 by 80. Now, if you appreciate the mean astigmatism, it is to the tune of 2.1 at 6 months. We had nil complications. So is it really a DALC? Yes, because we are approaching almost near to 50 micron. What about the edge effect? You can very well appreciate that this edge effect goes away within a month. How strong is their position? We did phacoemulsification in 3 of such patients, and we found that there was no popping of the graft during the procedure in any one of them, in spite of using the normal parameters. So this technique is a promising technique, and it has the ability to change the practice pattern in future. However, we require a large cohort to finally conclude the results. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alok. I request the panel, if they have any questions, you may go ahead, shoot.
Thank you, Dr. Alok. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I can hear you, ma'am.
Yes. How many graft displacement you got on next day?
Ma'am, in none of the cases, ma'am.
Okay. Then how expensive it is for one visit?
Ma'am, we being from the government institute, we have not looked into that, and we provide free of cost to our patients, ma'am.
I'm not asking about the institute or something, because as you know, the corneal problem are usually more common in the lower economic group. Even if keratoconus does not fall to that, if we see how expensive will be the procedure. So if you
yes,
know that,
if you look at, it will be around 75,000.
Okay, then can we have some other easier, not easier, inexpensive.
Yeah. True. We have traditionally, ma'am, we have all non-expensive modalities, as I have highlighted: manual, big bubble, and these were the techniques which we have been using. But this is a sort of a
sutureless. I'm asking about sutureless.
Sutureless, ma'am, DALC has not yet been reported in literature.
Okay. Are you sure? Okay. Then next is, you said after PECO also nothing was popped up. So after how many days you have done the PECO?
Yes, ma'am. It's after 3 months, ma'am.
After 3 months. So after 3 months, it was okay. Why you have put fibrin glue at the edge?
Yeah, true. It's basically, there are two things, ma'am, why I have used the fibrin glue. One is to create a position, especially post-op, because after all, there has to be fibrosis, and the fibrin glue may incite a little bit of it, because we are just putting it at the edge of it. That is one. And second, of course, it's a surety for me that, of course, it will not be displaced in post-op.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any more questions? All right, moving on to our next speaker. Ma'am, Dr. Anita. Ma'am, are you signed in from your laptop? If you could push the flap a little down, we can't see your entire face. Yes, ma'am. Perfect. Okay, I'd like to call the last. I'd like to call the last.
The old lady's face?
No, you look very pretty.
See the old lady.
You look very beautiful.
Okay.
Moving on to the last speaker for the topic cornea, we have Dr. Vijay Kumar Sharma. We can already see your screen. So if you could also unmute yourself, switch your camera on. Yes, we can see you.
Good morning, respected judges and dear colleagues. I'll be discussing management of anterior corneal scar by an innovative technique, which we have termed as tuck-in femtosecond laser-assisted lamellar keratoplasty. There are no financial disclosures. The anterior corneal layers are affected in many diseases like Salzmann-Noddler degeneration, spheroidal degeneration, healed keratitis, which is primarily limited to anterior corneal layers, and epithelial and stromal corneal dystrophies. SALK provides the advantage of a sutureless lamellar keratoplasty procedure to treat these opacities. Traditionally, the SALK has been done using a microkeratome or a femtosecond laser laser-assisted surgeries. The femtosecond, which has been described traditionally, that has a side cut angle of 90 degrees. The problem with both these techniques is sizing of appropriate donor and recipient cuts for achieving a good apposition of graft-host junction. You can see in this photograph a traditional SALK where at the graft-host junction there is a gap. Now this gap can act as a nidus for infection over a period of time because it heals with a notch. As you can see, post of about 6 months post-operatively, there is a notch, so it can act as a nidus for infection. To circumvent these problems, we designed this conducted this prospective interventional case series where 15 eyes of 15 patients with anterior corneal opacities involving up to 200 microns of cornea, and we took them for TFALC procedure. All the patients underwent uncorrected and best corrected visual acuity evaluation, slit lamp biomicroscopic evaluation, IOP measurement, and depth of corneal opacity was assessed using an anterior segment OCT. The procedure was done using a VisuMax femtosecond workstation. So this is the video of the procedure. This is the donor lenticule which is being prepared. Here we have modified the side cut angle to 45 degrees instead of traditional 90 degrees. Now this 45 degrees, it created the sloping edges at the end. Then the donor lenticule was dissected all around. The size that we have taken varied from 7.9 to 8.5. So the donor lenticule has been prepared. Then we prepared the recipient bed by cutting the recipient lenticule. It was again cut at 45 degree angle. Now this 45 degree angle, it created a sort of wedge at the edge. The dissection was not very difficult, except in some cases with leucomatous opacities, where we had to use some sharp instruments for removing a particular dense adhesions. Then we transferred the donor lenticule over to the recipient bed, and the edges of this donor lenticule, they were tucked in all around because of that 45-degree at the recipient as well as donor. So it fitted very well into the recipient bed all around. Another modification that we did is we did not use any fibrin glue at this point of time. We just placed a BCL for 3 weeks. And after placing the BCL for 3 weeks, the BCL was removed. So this was the procedure that we carried out in 15 patients, 15 eyes. 6 had corneal opacities due to healed microbial keratitis, 5 had spheroidal degeneration, 3 had Salzmann nodular degeneration, and 1 had vertex keratopathy. The mean preoperative depth of corneal scar was 148 micron, and recipient scar lenticule that was removed was 153 microns. The thickness of donor lenticule, mean thickness was 168 micron. We kept it 10% more thickness of the donor lenticule to cater for graft compactness, which occurs after the procedure. Here you can see the difference at the graft host junction. Compared to the traditional techniques, you can see there is a 45-degree angle at the graft host junction, and the donor and the recipient corneas, they have fitted very well into each other, and surface is very, very smooth. The visual acuity of the patients improved from 0.96 logmar units to 0.52 logmar units, and most of the patients achieved 618 or better vision. This 45-degree side cut, it gave us around 150 to 400 micron space for overlap between the recipient and donor lenticule. This is the largest study of femtosecond assisted SALC published in the literature so far, and it's a sutureless and a glueless technique. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Vijay. We will now take questions for Dr. Vijay, if there are any.
Dr. Vijay?
Yes.
Nice
Good morning.
Good morning. Morning. So again, I'll ask the same question. Any other technique?
Ma'am, we can do
sutureless.
Yes, ma'am. We can do other techniques, sutureless. We can do a microkeratome SALC, or a femtosecond also has been described as a sutureless technique. The purpose of this, what I feel is, these are just small steps maybe towards achieving a better surgery after some time. Maybe sometime the femtosecond technique will become affordable. It may come out in a smaller operators compared to what is present at present. So it may add just one aspect to the refinement of surgery.
Okay, good. But just I want to know the name. Any other technique name. Maybe very old, but you should know. Even if old technique also, you should know. There are some techniques.
Epikeratoplasty.
You tell me.
Epikeratoplasty.
Epikeratoplasty, you have to put the suture.
Yes.
Sutureless.
No, ma'am.
I can say you are not born that time.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam, you tell the name. You tell the name, so we will be more conversation, if you don't mind.
That means you are not reading my article.
Quite possible.
Okay. The recent one, that was 2018 to between 2010, it was published. Two, three journals it was published. That is fibrin glue technique.
Right.
Just fibrin glue technique. That I was asking to the other candidate. Then very old one is overlay suture. Overlay suture. Just one quadrant. That was very old. That time you might not have been born.
Thank you.
Overlay suture. These two, this name you should remember, because sometimes old people, they may ask you. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, judges. Thank you, speakers. We now move. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I